Morning. Good morning. It will be afternoon in about 3 minutes. So we're going to be getting started. I just posted the link to join in backstage where you can be on camera with me. And all you have to do is just click that link and you can come on in. So I'm going to give, a few minutes to get started. I know people are normally used to jumping on right at 12. So I'm going to give it a few moments. Let me go in the group and say we are live. Sound like somebody hit something. I hope you all are having a great day so far and that your Thursday is going amazing. All righty. Posting in the group. So the last two posts, the post I just made before
Michael
the last
Humphreys
one.
joined.
Oh, Michael Humphrey. I got some people that are on early. Let me go ahead and add to the stream right now. Good morning, Michael Humphreys and Paul Franks. And just going to allow people maybe one more minute before we get started. Super excited. Chapter 3 was simply amazing. Simply amazing. And
James and Natasha King joined.
One moment. Got Natasha.
Picking up a lot of static in the background.
Mute your line. Mute your line. If you're not talking, you can just mute, and then once you get ready to speak, then you can just unmute, and everybody who's not speaking, just keep your lines muted. How you doing, Natasha King? You good? Can you hear me, Natasha? I think her service is just maybe a little glitching.
Yeah, you come through loud and clear.
All right, cool. Let's go ahead and get started. First and foremost, we're going to change up some things on this session. Normally, and I want to make sure Natasha can hear me. Let me double check because I know she's going to be a key player in Natasha. Can you hear me? Sometimes that service is kind of a little shaky, but it pulls through after a minute or so. So normally in the mastermind, we normally go for a few pages and then we kind of talk about those pages after we went through and then we take page by page. But this time, what we're going to do is make it more intentional. Let me get to my comments so I can, where are my comments at? Show chat. All right. I think everybody, y'all going to come on and wake up. Oh, so she cannot hear me. Oh, well, she's muted. Let me tell her to jump out and come back in. Having some technical difficulties over there. She cannot hear me, but going to try to work with her as much as I can. But before I give these instructions, I kind of want to make sure that everybody can hear them. Something's happening outside. They got the firemen. Can you hear me now, Natasha?
It's the first of the month. Lunchtime.
Yeah. She's gonna come back in. All right. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna briefly just look over chapter 2. A few key takeaways. Basically, chapter 2 was last week. And chapter 2 talked about the leader's toughest challenge, creating a climate for potential leaders. Now, I have a question I want to ask. Has anyone been able to either create a climate for potential leaders, or maybe a climate was created for you anytime between the last Thursday and now that you know of? And maybe just a few things to bring back to refresh your memory. It talked about on page 18, momentum is the greatest of all change agents. So we talked about momentum. We talked about continuing to grow and bloom. We talked about, one of my favorites was not relying on great natural talent. In other words, don't just rely on your talent because you're good at something and say, okay, yeah, I don't have to brush up on my skills. I don't have to go and grow further. I'm just going to rely on the basic talent and ability that God has given me. All right. So have you, I guess I'm going to ask you, Michael Humphreys, because I guess I got to give my people time to wake up because I don't know.
But, we're good. I'm listening. I'm going to plug myself in. So repeat the question. So you're asking specifically what?
Did you get a chance to read chapter 2? We're talking about last chapter.
No, I mean, you got it. I was, when you sent that, and you're awesome, by the way. I really do appreciate it. But guess what came in the mail?
Yes.
Yeah, it came in. I was on an appointment. I came in about 9 o'clock last night, and that was there. But then you sent that. But thank you very much. So no, I did read chapter 3 though. So I didn't read it, but I agree. I mean, momentum. I've heard that. I mean, if you've got no momentum, you can be the best person going, but if there's nothing, kind of, you haven't got this synergy, stuff like that. It doesn't matter how good you are. You're still not going to look good. You've got to get that momentum, and some of my history of walking, whatever. And so you've got to keep going forward until momentum comes. But you got to go and seek out momentum. It's like, elastic band has no momentum until you pull it backwards. You know what I'm saying? None whatsoever. Mm-hmm.
That's so right. It's so right. So thank you for that. I just wanted someone to touch bases on it. Paul, did you get a chance to read chapter 2? You did? Okay, great. So basically, quick question before we jump into chapter 3. Let me mute you again because it's kind of staticky. Before we jump into chapter 3, I'll ask the question. All right, so the leader's toughest challenge, creating a climate for potential leaders. And one of the things that it talked about, and I'm just doing 2 takeaways from chapter 2. Momentum, you have to create that momentum. It's the greatest of all change agents, right? And maybe you remember this from last week, but it also talked about on page 22, not to rely on your great natural talent, not to allow on great natural talent. You must still, even though you're naturally good at something, you must still work hard in that area to go to the next level, right? So does anything come to mind, Natasha, Paul, and Michael Humphreys has already answered this question? Thank you, Michael Humphreys, for giving feedback. Does anything come to mind that has transpired since last week, since we covered chapter 2, over these last 7 days, that connected with chapter 2 in any way? Anybody? Okay, well, we're going to keep it moving because obviously maybe still having some technical issues, but let's go ahead and go into chapter 3. All right, the leader's primary responsibility, identifying potential leaders. This is really weird. Let me go up here and let's see what's going on in the...
Yeah, I've got you loud and clear. It's I've never seen this format before, but it's kind of pretty cool by the looks of it.
Yeah.
But I just I didn't even test my mic. I'm on my external microphone, my little toy. So I just plugged it in. It worked straight away. So
okay, cool. All right. This is just their signal. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to explain a new method that we're going to start using this week. All right. So thank you for those of you who are in the chats, and I don't see the chats are not showing up necessarily on my.
I'll chat just something. I'll say let's see.
I can see it in the group, but it's weird.
Green chat.
Yeah, Shanetta is there.
I don't see anywhere to chat like Carlotta. I see learn more. Send the message only support.
You won't be able to chat because you're actually in.
It says sending messages only support for hosts. Enjoy the stream.
Okay, so let me see.
That's what it's saying to me.
All right.
Then there's private chat. Now, let me send a private chat.
Yes, just try to send it. I'm trying to see.
All right, I just sent
I see the private chat that came through. So it should be working in just a moment. Just all the chats are not there yet, but we're going to keep on going for the sake of time. So for those of you who are viewing right now, I cannot see your posts on the screen on my laptop, but I can see them on on my phone. So I'll look from time to time, but I want to explain something. Janetta, thank you for being plugged in. I cannot see your chats, but I see you blowing up the comments. I was wondering where my people were. I was like, what's going on? But y'all are here. I just can't see you on the screen for some reason, but we're going to push through. So normally, as we go through this content, and someone that's actually in the live with me, they give feedback or insight on the text that we're covering. And the people in the comments are normally like, yes, that's awesome. Amen. Hallelujah. Stuff like that. So what I want to challenge you, okay? And I appreciate you even if you cannot come on the stage. You're in the group and you're plugged in. I want to challenge you to not just make those type of comments, but I want to challenge you to add feedback, add application to the comments, ask questions in the comments that I can read, and I'll use my cell phone, that I can read and we can have dialogue, because that's what it's really for. And even though you're not here in the actual group live with me, like me and Michael Humphreys are right now, you can still be a part of the mastermind just by tuning in. That's the reason why I'm going live now and I'm not on Zoom. Because on Zoom, we had at least 12 people every single Thursday. But now that I go live, and you all voted for me to go live in the group, but now that y'all voted for me to go live in the group, but nobody's, I need y'all to come on in, because this is an interactive group. We're not just throwing a bunch of people in here. All right. So I wanted to explain that. So moving forward, as I cover, I'm going to start in chapter 3, page 37 in the
James
text.
and Natasha King joined.
Page 37 in the text. Add Natasha, because she's back. Hopefully, you good now? Let me unmute you, Queen. All right, so let me share this with you. I'm glad you can hear me now, because I'm having some issues over here. I can't see all the comments, and we're just going to push through. You know it's going to be good, right? When all this stuff start happening. That's how I know it's going to be good. All right, so welcome Michael Humphreys. He's new, but look at him. He's new, one of the first new people, but he's in the live, plugged in, tapped in, already read, everything awesome. So Natasha, what I was saying is that moving forward, how we used to do it, I'm going to go page by page by page through the entire chapter. And as I cover certain points, I'm going to give a pause and ask certain questions and also ask for insight. So you all can stop me at any time if I haven't paused yet. And then I would love your feedback as we go along, instead of like the pause, break, pause, break, pause, break. And I'm also challenging the people that are in the comments to not just say, yes, that's awesome, you talking now, amen, hallelujah, but to also apply what they have read, apply what you have learned, ask questions in the comments, and let me pull this up so I can mute this, so I can't hear, but I can actually see the questions. And I'm going to put it right here in front of me so I can stay in alignment, because the comments are not showing up here. But let's dive in, okay? Page 37. The leader's primary responsibility, identifying potential leaders. Very, very, very key. Very key. And it started off with a mic drop already on page 37, first paragraph I have underlined. One of the primary responsibilities of a successful leader is to identify potential leaders. You got to have some strong character and a strong mindset to even want to have other potential leaders around you. You can't be a jealous-hearted person. You cannot be afraid of nobody else's shine. You got to have a pure heart. But when you do that, you allow your leaders around you to grow and develop, because that's what you should truly want, right? So I have underlined, men are developed the same way gold is mined. Several tons of dirt must be moved to get an ounce of gold, but you don't go into the mine looking for dirt. You look for the gold. Now let's reflect on that just a little bit. To me, that was a mic drop right there. Talking about looking for the gold. You got to go through tons of dirt, but you're not looking for the dirt. You're looking for the gold. In other words, we should look for the good in people. Let me check out this chat. Oh yes, absolutely, absolutely. I wish your comments could come in the screen too, but they can't right now. So I'm gonna mute Paul. I'm gonna mute you out because there's some static coming through on my end. So when you get ready to talk, just unmute when you're ready to speak. Okay. All right. So I want you to pause right there. We should look for the gold, not the dirt, the good and not the bad. What is an example in your life where you have either been a recipient of this or you've seen it some kind of way played out, some kind of way where you experienced or you either did it. You didn't look for the bad. You looked for the gold. You looked for the good. I'm gonna mute my mic. I'm gonna leave the floor open for the speakers that are up front right now. Just unmute and go at it.
Okay. It's a principle, looking for the good in people. I mean, it's a principle that, I mean, you can go back to as early as Napoleon Hill and talked about just always looking for the good in people, right? One of the things that stood out, being a recipient of it, when we first wrote our first book, we had a gentleman by the name of Ton Cunningham reach out to us. And we had no clue who he was. He was out of Canada. And he had interviewed hundreds of people on business platforms. And we were wondering how in the world did he find us? And two, why did he want to speak to us? And we honestly had not completed our book. We had just announced it, put a little content out there because we were following a program for developing and marketing our book. And when we finally finished the book, he told us why he had reached out to us. And it was just one of those things when you develop the habit and the skill of seeing the good in people, he was able to recognize something in us very early on, even though the book was nowhere near being completed. But he said, you all are sharing something in terms of your platform that very few people touch. And it was just based on a perspective of partnership. And he said it's rare that people tackle it in a genuine way. Now, that was something that took place when we first got started. And one of the things that we've adopted now, and I guess it comes from me having a background in education and James having a background in ministry, that's something you just kind of trained to do, I guess. But here recently, we just released a magazine and everybody was saying, oh, it's great, it's beautiful, all this stuff. But a lot of people don't realize that it's a free publication. We don't charge people to be featured. We literally look for people that are doing good in some way, shape, or form. And we want to highlight them in the most professional and quality and in such good quality. We want to highlight them because we said that may be the confirmation that they need. Because your journey as an entrepreneur or a community leader or whatever it is not always it's not always peaches and creams, and you need that confirmation and validation along the way. And we just like to be that for people. And every time we do it, we always get, man, you have no idea this was right on time. I needed this. And so those are just small moments to because it feels good when we receive it, but doggone, it feels good when we do it for other people as well.
Absolutely, Natasha. I love that. Looking for the gold and looking for the good. Like we're looking for people to highlight in our magazine publication, and you're doing it for free. But really, you're adding value to people, and you're only opening up pathways for that energy to be received right back to you. So, good job. That was a really great example. I think Michael Humphreys, you were about to speak.
Yeah, I mean, that was a good point. It's, what struck me was you gotta go through the dirt. I mean, it's so easy, and you can go from children or even potential clients, but mostly team players. It's easy to critique anybody, but I mean, can you see? It's like that onion. When I heard that, it's like this onion, like peel it off. So that's what I imagine. But it's just like I watched the movie Soul, and if you watch the movie, you see that dirt around the person, but inside that person is the real person that that's gleaming, is the spark. But you sometimes got to see beyond that. I was talking to somebody else today, a VP out of North Mississippi, and in Arkansas, and I was telling them about people. You got to look for the best person. Just because you see somebody and they may not look like we presume, because if people are on here, sometimes and I can't see everybody, but we may be a little bit more polished But what you see today, the ones that know me, this is not Michael Humphreys that was 10, 15 years ago with spiky hair, earrings, and other stuff. That, you know what I'm saying? You wouldn't have touched me. You know what I'm saying? So you got to look in the best, but you've got to kind of, I think you got to use that sixth sense and look and always look for the best in somebody. But like you said, it says here, it's not always an easy job. And that's where we run the other way, because it is hard. People are going to let you down. They haven't been trained how to look at people in through those eyes. We have filters. I don't know Miss King, but you know what I'm saying, her experiences are different to mine. So she's going to judge people from her experiences from this side of the pond. I'm from England. I judge it from there because it's what I was brought up with. So anyway, I don't want to take much time, but not always an easy job, but it's critical. So identifying is what it says. Not easy, critical, and but anyway, there's my 2 pennies worth.
Well, I love that feedback. Thank you for jumping in and just getting right to it. Excellent. Let me go ahead and read some of the comments because we have some really good comments in here. So I have Shanetta Chrysler. She says, always room for growth, as you quote often, a forever student. I always say I am a forever student, and no matter what level I'm at in life. Dr. Jameson says, identifying potential leaders is not easy, but critical. That's straight out the text. That's a great point. Shanetta also says, I love the quote, to develop successful people, look for the gold, not the dirt. You have to see the positive. Most people focus on the bad instead of looking for what is good. Be the one to help bring out the good in all. Love that feedback. What can you do as a leader to help develop and bring out the good within? That's a question. I'm going to read it one more time just in case one of you might want to take that question. What can you do as a leader to develop and bring out the good within? It's a really great question. Now, Shanetta, you can comment in the comment section. Do you have an answer for that, or was that a question you were posing, or do you want a real answer? And we can come back to it once I see your remarks in the comments. And Dr. Jameson said, gold, when discovered, has a lot of dirt on it. It doesn't look worth anything, but cultivating and adding pressure and applying heat produces a valuable gem. And that's quite like how life is with people and the things that we have to go through. I love that analogy. I really just loved the whole gold mine. I was like, wow, the chapter 3 just started off on the first page. I was like, I could be done after reading the first page. That's how I felt, because I felt so full after reading just that first. Okay, she said it wasn't a question, just in general. Thank you, Shanetta. Appreciate it. I'm going to call back to the screen. Going to hit mute to keep out the static. All right, let's go to page 38. And earlier on, it talked about professional sports and gang organizations and things like that, selecting the right players. I know some guys, y'all could probably talk about that a little bit. You know, you might have some thoughts. So if anything comes to mind, Michael Humphreys or even Natasha, and let me know. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
You go ahead.
Yeah. You know, sometimes we look at somebody, you know, and I don't know who's in this group, so I appreciate you invited me. So I'm a little bit lost, but thank you anyway. But you know, we want the best players. Who would not want the best player on your team? We all would. I mean, you'd be lying if not. But you know, just because somebody looks clean and can talk, it doesn't mean the best players. And so my journey over the years is I've really, you know, I've got a name for a team, the Team Real, because I've always shot it real. Carlotta knows it. Integrity is very important to me. So if that person is good, they can talk, they can walk, they can chew the bubble gum at the same time, but they have no integrity. So, but the problem is, it says here, hiring somebody or whatever organization you're in, if you bring them on as a recruit or whatever, or a doctor, I heard a doctor, I know it's our doctor, but you know, any business forum, then guess what? You've jumped out, you're committed. And so now it's very difficult. So what I'm hearing is we don't need everybody. So it is so critical when we need, do they, you know, energy, and Carlotta and I talked the other day, if you don't have the energy, you've got to use this sixth sense. And males, I don't know how many males are on here, we do have sixth sense, and you've got to use that. That is protection. So anyway, there we go.
Wow, that was really good insight. Natasha, do you have something? I see that smile. Hold on, let me unmute you. Make sure you unmute first.
She's still muted.
Okay, here we go. Now, despite me being almost 6 feet tall, I have no knowledge of any athleticism whatsoever. I played soccer, and there's an emphasis on played. I was just out there having fun with a bunch of my friends, but nonetheless, there's a line in here where he talks about let's see, where I lost my spot almost. He said sometimes we hire employees haphazardly, and in this sense, you're hiring employees. But even when you're looking at building an organization, we come from a background where we work in direct sales or whatever you want to call it, and in some sense, you may just get excited and you just want to bring people on. But after a while, you realize that is not the most effective thing, and it can be a headache because just acquiring people is not the goal. Because at some point, you look at not just being able to be productive and productive long term. You really want to have a space where people can grow and be impactful. And anything that you do, you don't do it just for the moment. You're in a space where you're truly serving and providing the best good. And he talked about, like I said, just hiring employees haphazardly. And then he says, because of desperation, lack of time, plain ignorance, they quickly grab any candidate that comes along. And I venture to say that every leader has been at that place at some point because it's a growth process, right? But hopefully you can humble yourself enough as a leader and say, you know what, there are a lot of things that I don't know. Let me sit under the right mentorship or the right coaching so that I can learn better. And I think it goes on to talk about that in the rest of the chapter. But just getting to a place where you become very intentional about what you need. And there was a line on the next page, and I won't jump ahead of you. I said it was my favorite line out of the entire book. And it says that we're looking for hitters. That honestly was my favorite line out of the entire chapter, because you have to know who it is that you're looking for. You don't just grab anybody and say, "Oh, this will do." No, that's not the case. So back over to you, Carlotta, so we can go on to the next page.
All right. Now, how far ahead is that?
That's actually on page 39, that last paragraph.
Okay, yeah, that right there was one of my favorites. I'm gonna tell you the part that was one of my favorites. Let me mute out just a little bit because I'm getting a little feedback. But you hit it right on the head. I was really going there next. I have underlined the too often leaders hire employees habitually because of desperation. You already said that, lack of time, or just plain ignorance. Now, this is what I want you to think about right now. Was there ever a time? I think we all can relate to that statement, just being hired, you were hired, you might have been a good candidate, but you look to your left and right, but like, how y'all get here? I've been there before, right? But have you ever been in a situation where you just simply had to hold your breath and hope that everything worked out? Maybe because you didn't plan properly, you were not strategic enough. Have you ever been in that situation? I want you to think about that. Hopefully, it may have been a long time ago, or it may have been recent. Who knows? It could be something small or something big.
So, as the hiring person or being hired?
Either one.
Good question.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be dealing with a hiring process. Just anywhere in life that you've ever experienced that.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in groups. I'm pretty competitive, so I do a lot of sports, even at this young age of 57 in 2 days. So, But anyway, you look around at different organizations, be it, I know you're in direct sales, Natasha, but, and then you look at somebody who's, say, ahead of you, and you say, oh my goodness, what the heck? What have I let myself in for? So again, I think that's self-judgment, and that's probably a weakness that I've had over the years, that we come in, we see an organization, it looks good, it smells good, but maybe that person didn't quite tell you what it's like. And as I've grown, I hold myself in more self-esteem now, how worthy I am and what I can bring to something. And careful what I say here, but sometimes it's hard to. So you're in an organization, and you suddenly realize how good you are, but that organization, whatever leadership, is not what it turns out to be. Then you realize you're better than that, and so then I'm down here. This is me, and you've got to make a decision. You can't really stay there. And I think a lot of people, Carlotta, they get into something, and it smells good, and all that looks good. You've experienced that, I'm sure. I'm sure Miss King has as well. But you've got to pull away, and that is hard to do, because even though it's the right play, if you're the right player, you now have to make a decision. You're on the team. But is this the team you want to be on?
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, you can still play baseball. You just don't need to be on that team.
Wow.
Does that make sense? So I'll leave it there. Okay.
I can definitely read between the lines. I've had a lot of experience. I know what it's like to just jump into something, be super excited, and you don't really have a plan or a growth plan or a next. So you're just hoping, like, I just hope it works out, and that's not a good strategy for anything. And that's really the gist of the takeaway that I want to have on page 38. It's really not a good strategy to just hope and cross your fingers and just kind of, hey, I just hope everything works out. That's not the way leadership works. That's not the way team building and building the leaders around you. That's not how that works. So on page 39, it talks about you must have the ability to see the big picture. That's like having vision. Vision is very important. But also, you must have the ability to judge potential employees during the selecting process. And you can take that term and use it and twist it however your business is ran, or your organization, or your movement, whatever it is that you're doing. It doesn't necessarily have to be employee-wise or business-wise. It can be mission-wise. One of my most difficult classes in my master's degree program at Belhaven University was strategic management. The most difficult class I had, and accounting was number 2. So you have to be intentional about this. And a lot of times we like to tell ourselves, well, I don't judge people. And I've said it before, but in actuality, yes, we do. Because you really take them at face value, or you can see or have a sense, or something feels off, and you go with that. You just made a judgment decision. And as leaders, it's okay to make good judgment calls. It's okay to judge a person off their character for who they are right now. You don't condemn a person because they may have to, like Humphrey said earlier, they might need to grow a little bit because he's not the same person he is today that he was years ago. So, but we have to judge accordingly, okay? Now, once again, let me go ahead and tap into these comments because we have a few comments. I see, who do we have here? Shanetta Crystal says, you have to learn how to dig deep. Pull out and pour in. I like that, Shanetta. I'm going to say that again. You have to learn how to dig deep. Pull out, pour in. Love it. Oh, I love that. That gives me some good feels. Dr. Virginia Jameson says, don't judge a book by its cover. Love it. Ms. Chrysler, it was just a question. In general, got you. A question to ask leaders, got you. Sonia Lee says, Potiphar, I hope I'm saying that name right, saw a leader in Joseph. His home and business was blessed in the process. When he threw him in prison, the warden saw a leader in Joseph, and when he pulled him charged also, his enterprise was blessed. Okay, I want to make sure I'm understanding that one. When you threw him in prison, the warden saw a leader. He saw a leader, and seeing the gold. I like it. Seeing the gold, seeing the good. See the leader in a person, no matter what their status is, no matter what it looks like. I say don't judge a book by its cover or its color, right? Because sometimes we get caught up in what we see, but see the good in people. That's a really great. Thank you, Sonia Lee, for that. Paul Frank's facts. But when you say professional, good leaders do not always equal good fits for your organization. Starting with the need is important, but when you run across someone who exceeds the norm and is exceptional in their potential or capabilities, hire them regardless. We're going to get to that in just a minute. I like that. There is always room for high quality superstars. You will find a place for them. In fact, they will bring the environment up a level where the team grows faster and better. I like that feedback. Really great feedback. And Paul Franks, once again, he said Joseph was a leader no matter what environment he was in. Make the environment doesn't create the leader. I like that again. Okay, so really great feedback. Thank you for adding value to the mastermind in the comments. That's what I'm looking for moving forward. Thank you. All right, so let's keep it moving. We got quite a bit to cover. So, he talks about the 5 A's, assessment of needs. We got to find out what is needed. Assets on hand. I'm not going to read all of this, but ability of candidates. As leaders, we should be looking at what is this candidate's ability. As team leaders, what are your team leaders' abilities? Who are the people already in the organization who are available? I have a group of people, handful of people. Out of 444 people, I have a handful of people that I know they are always available, period. And if I call them and they don't answer right then, guess what? I know within moments, I'm going to hear something back, okay? And so you got to always know who is the person, who are those people on your team. Attitude of candidates. That's really, really big right there. Who is willing, and accomplishments of candidates, who gets things done. You got to know who your star players are. Just like the coaches know who they're going to put out front, who they're going to have to start. You got to know. And one thing I want to add is that I used to burn myself by calling unqualified candidates as if and wanting to put them on a platform to help them out and help them go to the next level, but knowing all the while they weren't even qualified for it. So in other words, when they give me a bad attitude or snap back at me and I'm like trying to be nice to them, who is actually at fault here? I already knew what they were capable of. So why would I go to try to raise them up and I knew they weren't qualified in the first place? So there's no need for me as a leader to adapt a bad attitude. No, learn from that. And just love that person where they are. Bless them where they are and call on qualified candidates, because sometimes we hurt ourselves by not taking heed to how to do it right. Once again, those of you who are on the platform, if you got something, jump right in, because we're moving along and we're going to be doing this moving forward, not more so, okay, open, close. So if you got something, just jump right in and let me know. I will definitely allow you to speak, okay? Now, moving forward, talked about the big picture. I have underlined on page 39, file 27 in a row. Nobody, this good right here. I like this right here. Come on. Natasha, you talked about this earlier, right? You talked about this earlier when you said about, you love to hit it at the park. And this person was like, man, what do we do? This guy is killing it, right? He hit 27 in a row. 27, hit it out the park every single time. And nobody, not even one person, even hit a foul until the 9th inning. And the recruiter said, sign up the guy who hit the foul. Because that lets you know right there, that person, that leader, that player, he was an exception to the rule. He was ready. No matter how good this person was, he was skilled enough to be the one that breaks the barrier. Be the one that stopped the winning streak. You get what I'm saying? So I felt like that is amazing. But as leaders, okay, we have to be able to see that and put people in the right position. Anyone would like to say something? I feel like somebody want to say something right now.
Yeah, so when somebody doesn't quite look, you could be doing something for a long time in any position, organization, and somebody comes along and they don't quite look like you. They may even sound British, and but everybody's got talent. So, like it says here, they're looking for somebody to hit the ball, not pitch it or whatever. So, you've got to look a little bit deeper. So, what I'm hearing overall so far is, not everybody's going to look like you, not everybody's going to sound like you. And if you've got the ability, which this is a skill, we've got to go as a leader a little bit beyond what is this person. And the only way to do that is to build a relationship with somebody. Because if you don't have a relationship, you're not getting to know them. So a lot of times you may get anybody. Like I've ran 27 years now. I've run businesses, construction, aviation, finances, and long list. Anyway, so it's hard work. It says that, and so we have to, Carlotta, go a little bit deeper. And somebody out there may not have what we think our fault, what's necessary, but have we gone deeper to dig deeper, which means work, to find out what they're good at, and then utilize their talent. So it may not be public speaking. Okay, that's not my favorite cup of tea. Okay, so but you know what I'm saying. But if you leave me alone and let me talk from my heart, I can talk. Sort of thing. So that's what I'm seeing is everyone's got their own individual talents. God's give them, and we as leaders have to find that God-given talent to give them a spark to ignite them into a position and lift them up. So there you go.
That was really, really great feedback. Natasha, you have something?
Yes, thank you so much, Michael, for that. I love the part how you said dig deep, and I was just thinking back to something that I worked on as a teacher for a while. And anyone that's listening to, we talk from a perspective. I want viewers to know that even though we may speak from a perspective of business or organizations, that everyone is a leader in some regard. I had to take a position as a leader, as a teacher. I was in the classroom purposely for 10 years. And I was in a position where I taught both what some would say as struggling students, inner city students. I had many that had backgrounds that were very different from mine. And then I also had some who I identified with very easily because they had, what some would consider a model home. They had great grades. The expectation was just completely different coming from those two groups of people. And I saw them on a daily basis. I had what you would call what some would say the creme de la creme. And then I had those that, everybody said, oh, these are, our at-risk students. But I had to dig deeper, as the text would say, and as Michael just suggested, and look at what was really needed. And for me, I was an educator that actually despised testing. Formal assessments were just not my thing because it did something to the confidence levels of the students who were not able to perform. And then it kind of gave those that did succeed, they looked at the success on an exam as a determination of how great they were. And that's not always the case. And so what I always wanted was, and this is what can be applied and what we have applied to business spaces or organizations or whatever. Whenever we're working with people, and as it says, dig deeper, what was needed was to look at people and say, hey, how can I build confidence in this person? How can I ensure that they're competent? Are they really knowledgeable about what they're doing? And then have a sense of community, not just have success for you, but can you help somebody else? And I worked on developing a model for the classroom where really it was a peer space. And it worked to the point where you identify the kids or people or whomever you're working with. It takes time, but you have to really pay attention to them to see what their strengths are and place them in areas where they feel like a leader. And then they can get the support that they need from those. Is you're literally building off of a person's strengths. You have a community where they're all building off of each other's strengths. And I have to tell you, that built so much confidence in them. And when it all came down to it, the results were I could be absent for a few days and the substitute would leave me notes and say, I didn't have to do anything. They did all this stuff themselves. Great. That's what I wanted. Was it always like that? No, we all encountered some bumps. They gave opposition because they wanted to do the norm. But when they saw the benefit of it and literally the freedom that they had, it was welcome. And when I had to leave on maternity leave, the following year when I ended up resigning, those students were the ones that excelled on the assessment that I didn't like. And so it's those kind of spaces where you can make sure, where you're working to make sure that the person is competent, they're confident, and you have a sense of community. And I think this is the whole idea of what he was talking about, when you really dig deep and know what it is that you're looking for. And the key thing, the reason why I said we're looking for hitters, there's a hitter in every single person. You just have to see where they need to be placed.
Amazing. Thank you for that feedback. And both you and Michael Humphreys, thank you so much. I also have underlined on page 39 at the end where it says, do whatever you can to hire him or her anyway. In other words, there may be a situation that supersedes a needs analysis. I overheard Paul on the phone having a conversation with somebody, and who the name was, I don't know. That's not important who he was talking to, but I heard this is the situation. He was giving some really good feedback, and it really went hand in hand with at the end of page number 39. So there's somebody who shows up to work, but they're always late, 30 minutes late. But when they get to work, they're like amazing. Everybody loves them. They're really good for the environment and the community and everything. So what would you do in that case? You have a need for that person because they offend you personally when they are late, but they're not showing up late to get the work done, if that makes sense. So they're always on time for the clients. They're never like, late to an appointment or something like that, but they're late when it comes down to them and that leader. That might not be the very best example, but what's the risk? You know this person is going to perform. You know this person is pushing the business forward. Do you fire that person to hire somebody brand new? Or do you kind of tweak some things and have a different type of conversation with that person? Also, sometimes I can give you another example of this, and then I'll see, you let me know if you want to add more to it before we go to the next little phase. As a leader, you might want to set a meeting. This is a really good example. This really kind of hit it on the head right here. I might want to set a meeting. But the meeting I know I want to set, my top leaders are people, or even not top leaders. I might have some other leaders that's brand new and never spoke before, and I want to do a different type of meeting where I allow somebody who is working but never really uses their voice, or a top leader that I know is going to change the climate and get the momentum going for the team. They might work. I might want to do the meeting on a Friday, but guess what? They're already booked that Friday. What am I going to do? What you do? A wise leader is going to say, you know what? When are you available? I'm going to set this appointment around your open availability. And now we're going to get the team involved, because I know by having those key leaders and key players, I know the atmosphere and the momentum is going to be there. So I'm going to make a decision. I'm not going to sacrifice having people plugged in that I know can get the job done and move the ship forward just because I want to have it on a Friday at 8:00. You get what I'm saying? So we have to do whatever we can to either hire that person anyway. Some people hire people on and they say, listen, I could come work for you, but guess what? I can't work no holidays. But that one person, and Michael Humphrey knows exactly what I'm talking about, but they're going to come in, and guess what? They're going to add so much value to your company, to your business. What you going to do? Because normally in your little manual, You know, everybody got to be working. They got to rotate holidays. But if you're smart, you're going to say, you know what? I'm going to take that one. Come on in here anyway. We're going to put something in here. Just don't tell nobody this is what you're doing. Don't tell nobody you're going to get paid a little bit more. Don't tell nobody we're going to give you company keys to a company car. Don't tell, you know, you're going to make those sacrifices as leaders. Whatever you can do to hire him or her anyway. If you got any feedback, just jump right in there because I'm going to keep moving. Page 40.
Yeah, I got that. Yeah. So when Natasha was talking, you know, what I was hearing is, as a teacher or in any position, it doesn't have to be teaching or whatever, is, you know, she created confidence in the individual, which we all do. But the only way you did that, or what we have to do, is trust. If you don't, so if you're in a teacher or in any organization, if the person doesn't trust you, they're not going to let the guard down, number one. They're just not. It's like, if you hire somebody, you're the boss. Oh, what's they going to think? And they're scared of you. They may not say that, but, you know, what will they think and all this? You're in direct marketing. It doesn't matter if you're a higher title. They are scared. They don't want to look. They want to look good, but they're not going to tell you the truth until you gain their confidence. And the only way you can do that is you open up to them. And sometimes you got to tell them you're not perfect. I guess I'm not perfect. You know, I tell, you know, my team all the time, hey, look, I'm going to screw up. When I first get somebody, I say, look, open door, I screw up. If I do, it's going to happen. Just come on, let's close the door. Tell me I am, excuse this word, I'm an a-hole. And so I apologize if I offended anybody, but you know what I'm saying? So we got to build trust in somebody. So that takes conversation, that takes time, that takes digging for the gold and all this in there. So, but, you know, so, you know, what you said about, you know, we got to find somebody. And I'm meeting with Natasha, and she is got something I really want to get a message across that I cannot do. Okay, you know, and I think she'll be awesome at it. Great, Natasha. You know, when can we meet? I'm gonna, just long as me and Natasha, we're on the call, I'll probably learn from her. Any leader can learn to anybody, but then I'm going to set the meeting around Natasha and myself. So that, if that helps answer a question, you got to do that. You can't just say, hey, I want to do it, because sometimes if you really want that person. So, you know, you've got to bow down a little bit as a leader to be able to do that. Being late, I got a prime example. She came in at 1 minute after 1. I called her last week. It's my office manager. She is very good, and she's my daughter. But we have real conversations. Just because she's my daughter, I don't give her slack. I mean, it's a different relationship here when she works for me, because I'm paying her. And I said, all right, what is it? By 10:30, it's all this. She's 21 and next week, but she is very good at everything I want her to do. She's good. She goes above and beyond. She has a great personality. She's got my back. She has my checkbook. Okay, she does all that. So I have to bend. I cannot be so stringent. And it's really harder because it's my daughter. You understand? Because it's like I'm boss, father, but I got to tell her, look, I just need to know when you're coming in. If you're sick and something, if you communicate. So 2 weeks ago, we had the conversation, you know, sort of thing. Come in, sit down. You can see her face. Great. No problem. You're doing an awesome job. I really do. I just need to know, because I have appointments and I have an expectation you to be here. So I just need to know when I can to book it. So I'm giving her a reason, not just you're late, you're late, you're late. Hey, this is the reason why I need to know if you're going to be on time. So you can't just come out and critique somebody. How can we see my side of the story? So I've got to let her know, or anybody, this is the reason why I need you to do this. Anyway, but she's good. She got a pay rise because it's 1st of April. I said I would. And so anyway, so you got to be flexible, because I would not want to lose her. Not because she's my daughter. It's the fact she takes a lot of load off me, sort of thing. But I hope that helps.
Man, that was really great. attribution to this text and to this what we're doing because and plus I know Michaela and she is beautiful, sweet, just all of that and more that you explained here, and you're so right. And then plus that's your daughter, and not only that, that's a lifelong relationship. It's not like you're gonna say, okay, well, you know what, it's not working out, so it never have to hear from that person again. This is someone you're still gonna have to face, and you're also like leader, father, dad.
Yep.
And I think that's really, really great. You're doing that extremely well job with that. Very good example right there. In the middle of page 40, one of my favorite takeaways from page 40 is there is always room for one more productive person in an organization. Like there's always an exception to every rule. People find a way to make a way when the way is going to get made even better because of you being an exceptional leader. I love it. I love that. I just wanted to reiterate that. Now, did anyone, and I'm talking to everybody, let me go back and see if I can check into the group real quick. Let me see what we got going on. Okay, Dr. Jameson says, in school, I always did a needs assessment for the students to see what was needed instead of giving everyone the same prescription. Come on, Doc. This keeps some growing and pulling others up. It's hard work, but one size doesn't fit all. Find and meet the need. She preaching in the comments, y'all. She is really preaching. She said, don't focus on their weakness. Find their strength. I love it, love it, love it. All right, great. Now, did anyone get to do the assessment here? Anyone do the assessment, the personal assessment on page 40, 41, and 42? No?
No.
Did you do it, Natasha? I did.
I did not do it for myself. I did it for people that we work with and those that are closest to us. So I looked at where they are, and those that are closest to us, I had to say, God, thank you.
Yes.
Because leadership has been one of those things that we're working at. And just like Michael said, we are going to mess up. Bottom line, we tell our son that every day. If we can just instill that in his 7-year-old mind, you are going to mess up every day, and it's okay. But just looking at those that we work with, this was a viable tool. I think I posted in the group that if you're looking for growth, chapter 3 is it. If you're ready to work, yes, chapter 3 is it. And it was a great takeaway for me. So I'll probably be sending this to the person that works with us so that they can assess us, because it's not, you have your personal assessment, but you also need those that are working with you to say, hey, look, these are some areas you might go and work in and get better. And I mean, that's just growth, right? Don't be so wise and you don't understand it, right? So, but that's it. A valuable tool. Absolutely.
Yes, definitely for yourself, just to kind of see where you rate yourself. And then, like, I thank you, Natasha, for saying that you're going to send it out too. And then just see if y'all are in sync. See if, if it's off, or, how I value myself, or how I see myself, how does another person see myself? And let's always know that when it comes to leadership, there's different facets of leadership. So there's no one entity, a person can be a football coach, and then they can be an instructor, and then they can have 3 different businesses. You have to look at that person in its totality, everything as a whole. But this assessment, it was really fun to do. I love the questions, really great questions to do an assessment with. I think this is spot on if you want to know where you stand as a leader. Like Natasha said, give it to your upline, or give it to your coach, and see where they rate you, so you can see where you are in their perspective of you. Do a self-assessment. You can do plenty of things. Play around with it. Keep moving, okay?
I just did it. It doesn't take long. I just did it.
Okay. How do you feel about it?
That was good. Good questions. And and I did a lot of tests yesterday. So, like psychology. But yeah, so I mean, there was a couple of things I had. Let's see, one, two things, two, couple of threes, mostly fours, and I was being honest. Yeah, so it's good. You know, I when I see that in a book personally, it's like, oh, I don't want to do this. I like to just keep going. I got to stop. All right, do this. I don't like those sort of books personally, but that's why I didn't do it last night when this book came in. But anyway, I just only got this book. But yeah, it was good, and really didn't matter to me if I got below 60. It wouldn't have mattered because you know, if you're going to assess yourself, you've got to be truthful to yourself. It doesn't matter where you are, because now wherever you are, you know you're here. Awesome. Now you can grow. But if you lie to yourself, you haven't got a chance.
Ooh.
You've got, so that's where it starts. It's okay if you're a 2 out of 10, but do you have the desire to be a 3, 4, 5? But if you can't be honest that you're a 2, and as a guy, I think a lot of men do have a lot of pride in some shape or form, and most men will not accept that. If you look deep in me, there's probably certain things I'm prideful about. It's a man trait. So yeah, it was good. I mean, I just did it because I wanted to see how quickly, and so yeah, it's good. I've got room for improvement. That's why I can see that. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that.
No problem.
So on page 43, it talks about how leaders tend to hire people whose abilities and expertise are beneath their own. I've heard it so many times where, I'm told this all the time in different industries that, you are this awesome leader. If you go out here and you're like just giving it all you got, killing it, and when you go and recruit somebody, they're only going to do what? Is half of what you did.
Mm-hmm.
And when they go and recruit someone, it's going to be diluted over time. So basically, this is what this reminds me of, right? But one thing at the top, I did skip over something. I want to make sure I hit on this. Some people in the group will never become leaders. Now, can y'all hear me still? It got real quiet on this end. I don't hear nothing.
Okay,
good.
I can hear.
That's what it was. All right. So that's a true fact right there. And what I'm learning as a leader, to not always want to take people and snatch them up and pull them to the front and lift, go up there. You can do it. That just might be the very thing that pushes them totally away, because they just might want to be in the room to soak up the energy forever. Everybody is not made to be a leader, and that is okay. Because if everybody's leading per se, everybody is the captain of the ship, then who will actually get the other work done? So we just always got to keep our minds open for that. And I believe, Humphreys, did you have something you would like to add to that?
So I did, but my mind's just gone over there. So yeah, so obviously I like to see faces. I can only see 3 faces, and that's one of them's mine. But yes, as a leader, we want to see people exceed. Not everybody. I'll take that back. Good leaders will want to see somebody be better than them. That's okay, because you've got self-esteem about yourself. It's okay to do that. But as you said, sometimes you just said it. You don't necessarily need to put that person in that position. Either one, like you said, they'll fail because now you embarrass them. It was too much too quickly, from there. But if you're not trying to stretch your team members, whatever level they are, and I'm going to steal the thunder the next 2 pages, and you said it, but if you're out of this assessment, you can be 100. So if you're 100 or a 90 to 100, coming in there, then the tendency is to look for people there. So if I find somebody who's really sharp and well educated, stuff like that, there's always, if people are honest, there's a certain amount of being intimidated by that person. So we tend to always go with what I call low hanging fruit. That's a natural thing from there. but it's okay to get that person because you're better at something else. Okay. Carlotta, I know Carlotta, she's better than stuff, but I know I'm better at some stuff than her, and I'm okay with that. I don't have to be good at everything, and that's where most leaders think they have to be good at everything. So yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, you gotta be willing to, like I said, you cannot have a pride issue, a jealousy heart, because you're gonna be like missing over qualified people because you're scared they're gonna take your place. You're scared that they're gonna soar to the top and get promotions that you probably would never be able to. It's like I don't want to hire my competition. So a lot of people would just let me just get somebody who just barely meet the qualifications versus somebody that's gonna come in here and take this thing to the next level. But that's all I want around me. I get excited. You know, you come in, you sharper, you smarter. Come on, let's go. I feel like, listen, let me sit back and chill. Y'all just call me when you need me, you know, in a sense, but not really. But almost. But at the end of the day, you know, you just don't want to have a jealous heart. And a leader is going to put that. It's a selfless job. That's why everybody's not called for it. And you can have a title. I'm going to pull from chapter 2 a little bit. You can have a title, but that title doesn't make you, because outside of that title, what influence do you have in other people's lives? If that title is stripped away from you, what are you left with? That's just something to think about right there. Let's go to page 40. Let's go to page 44. I have highlighted, I can settle for a couple of followers who are 65s, but that is critical. That is a critical error many leaders make, because what's going to happen, this is the feed through this next 2 pages right here. You're going to have a 95 because you sharp as I don't know what. 90s and above. I feel like everybody that's in the live is probably rated a 90 or above right now. However, you bring somebody on your team, now they automatically 85 because they good, but they ain't, the vision ain't there. They ain't just gonna keep pressing forward. It's just like 85. Then they go out and boom, you got a team of 75, 65, and then it just kind of dwindles down from there. And this is just an example. Sometimes those numbers can be way worse. Sometimes those numbers can be 0. You know, I really feel like that, because if a person is just not tapped in, plugged in, like you can literally get down to 0, no effort at all. And they're not even aware of the potential that they can add. They're not even aware that they matter. But leadership trickles from the top, but we as leaders have to make sure we hire up and not just hire down for whatever reason. 46. He's talking about, we already went over that. It's still talking about the same thing. Hire the most highly developed leaders you can get. Don't settle for poor performers. Keep in mind that one great person will always outproduce and outperform 2 mediocre. Okay? So keep that in mind. Understood the law of diminishing expertise. That's what he calls it. You see how it trickles down. I don't want to keep going over the same information. Let's go to page 47. A message inside the smallest one read. If each of us hires people who are smaller than we are, we shall become a company of dwarfs. But if each of us hires people who are bigger than we are, Ogilvy and Mather will become a company of giants. Commit to finding, hiring, and developing giants. Giants. That's what we already do. You got something, Michael?
No, I agree, and I guess just some stuff I'm going through. Telling the truth about yourself is important, and you hear you can't lead unless you're a follower, but it should not be blind lead. You shouldn't be a follower blindly. You know what I'm saying? Just because somebody has got a title, and I have not read chapter 2. I'm late in the game. I'll catch up, but just the title doesn't mean anything. It's like you've got to know, is this the right thing? Makes sense. It's okay. So if you get that feeling, then you shouldn't be doing it anyway. But it's good. I like, commit to modeling leadership. Are we modeling it as whatever position we're in, as teachers, business owners, public speakers. You can say something from the front of the room, but behind closed doors, are we doing something that is not in the same line of what we should be doing? I tell my children all the time, like 25-year-old and soon to be 21, your name is everything. And if you lose that reputation of the name, the Humphreys name, it's gone. It's very hard to get your name back once you've broken that integrity and stuff like that. So I preach that all the time. So I'm trying to model, and I to my children, which is really where, and my wife, stay at home. Am I modeling leadership as a father, as there? Because I can come in front of a business crowd, and I said, my daughter works here, and if I say one thing, but I'm not doing that to my children or my wife, then that's very weak leadership, So from there, but yeah, hope that helps.
Oh yes, absolutely. I love the feedback. And yes, in chapter 2, it does talk about. I'm trying to remember what we were talking about. Like the leader. What was that point you just made? It was something about chapter 2.
You said title. You mentioned titles in chapter 2, and yeah. Mm-hmm.
It did talk about how a person that can be at the lowest title can have greater leadership skills than a person at the top. Like it doesn't matter. So the title, all in all, is not everything. A person with a title that could be like the janitor, they can have greater leadership skills than a person at the top of the company. And so it was talking about more so like a person who has this title. If you only have followers because of your title and not because of your leadership, then that's not leadership. It's not leadership. You just happen to be in this.
It's positional. You respect the title, you respect the principal, or you respect the foreman or whatever, captain, and my son is a officer in the army, and I told him, I'm ex-military as well, but just because you have a title, you're not a leader. Don't ever do that, Justin. You've got to gain respect. And we talk every day. He's in Germany. We talk about stuff, and hey, this went on, and this is it, and 9 times out of 10, I'm just telling them that's part of the game. This is a game. You got to play the game. So, law enforcement or military, same thing. You got to play the game. Okay, so you've got to earn respect. You've got to go out and do it, and treat everybody equally. I don't care if you're a brand new soldier or you're a brand new janitor. It's like that. Talk to them. Hey, how are you? And it touches our heart when we see things on videos like that. But honestly, how many people on here, and I don't know everybody, but I mean, how many people do we say hi to somebody? Just to smile, and everybody, be polite. You don't know who you're talking to. You know what I'm saying? You don't know who you're going to come across somebody's kitchen table and you were rude, and you don't know. So be nice to everybody, because you want everyone to be nice to you. So why not exude that ourselves first?
Absolutely. I love that feedback. Thank you so much. That was really amazing to connect the dots right there. Let's go ahead and look at qualities to look for in a leader. We might have to zoom past a little bit of this because we are done in 20 minutes. So I have underlined serious character flaws cannot be ignored. This is where it got deep right here. They will eventually make a leader ineffective every single time. And it's up to the leader to make sure that when we identify a character flaw, or if a person has a character flaw, that's something you don't want to overlook. That's something you do not want to overlook. I have some questions for examples, but we're just going to keep going because if we start getting into a lot of examples right there, we're not going to make it through. But I do want you, if you have something you want to say, insert. Just let me know, and we can definitely get there. Just not going to ask the questions I was going to ask toward the text. On page 48, the words of a person with right character match the deeds. See, you're not, in other words, I say it all the time, that you just can't say good stuff. You can't just assume or just say it with your mouth. You got to show it up. It's going to show up in your actions. Your reputation is solid. But this is what I got to read right here. The words of a person with right character match the deeds. His reputation is solid. His manner is straightforward. You don't have to figure out what they're trying to say, and it's no going back and forth and no hanky-panky stuff going on. A person's failure to take responsibility for his actions or circumstances, this means the warning signs to watch for. Unfulfilled promises or obligations, warning signs. Failure to meet deadlines, warning signs. So that is very, very key. And you want to really always keep that in the back of your mind. Like, you don't want to put a person as a leader, don't put a person in this category and edify them to the world and talk them up, clap them up, and then they have character flaws. It's going to come back to bite you, because ultimately that's going to make you look bad. Okay, so it all connects. It all connects. Make sure that you are choosing everything with. You want to do it with a good heart. Now, we don't want to be too judgmental on people, but we just going crazy with it. Now, there's levels to this, because if you see a person that's showing you their character over and over and over, you act accordingly. Go by the actions. Go by what they do, not necessarily by what one person says. You want to manage your own life. I have on here, talk to your employees to find out how the potential leader treats them. That was a good one. I believe Natasha has said this before, and this is another session we had in the Mastermind where she talked about how, you want to learn how good of a leader you are. Go to the people that are under you. I've heard this before several times. I've heard a lot of people say that actually. So, for instance, say when I was going for Secret Service, right? They came out and talked to my neighbors. That's what the kind of stuff they do. They're not just gonna go directly to you. Or what do you say about yourself? They're gonna go and ask the people around you. You know what I'm saying? Like, if they want to know, somebody want to know what kind of mother Natasha is, but she's an awesome mother. They might ask her son, "Hey, what do you think about you?" See, and that's gonna be more close to the truth than anything. Not even what I can say, because I'm an onlooker. I'm a person who watches kind of from afar, or when I'm present with them. But I can tell though, the kings are just amazing with their children and stuff. I like that with their child. What else? What is the leader's level of influence? Does that person have followers due to position? He uses the power of his job title, permission. His followers consistently produce results. So basically, here it is again, and this kind of linking with chapter 2 where he talked about position and power. Are you solely having this influence because of your position, or is it because of your leadership? Who influences the leader? I spoke about this before when I talked about how when I started my coaching journey and I started listening to Oprah Winfrey a lot. And I really admire her, where she came from and to who she is now. But all of a sudden, a few years ago, it was like, wait a minute, I'm plugging into Oprah, but who does Oprah plug into? Let me go find out who that person is, because obviously they must have been a mighty person for her to go through all this, transcend the way she is through life. And quite naturally, I found a lot, like Wayne Dyer and all of those great people right there. Once again, if you have anything to say, just jump in there. Just let me know, okay? We have about, how many minutes? 15. We're going to be done. But yeah, anybody have anything they would like to add at this point?
I would like to jump in right here, since we're tapping back into chapter 2 a little bit, because and it's almost inevitable because everything kind of builds on top of itself. We've talked about position and permission, but there's also a thing where you get to production and you can still see that a person truly isn't a leader, because you can be producing, still not have good character. And depending on who people are that are following you, you'll only get so far with them before they realize, oh, this really isn't it, or you really aren't who I need to attach myself to. Similar to what Michael was saying earlier, the production, everything that could be there, but if what's at the core really is not matching up, there's going to come a point where you truly lose good leaders. And those are the people that are character driven. And they're going to go and attach themselves to someone who can really get them to level 4 and level 5, which is personal development, right? And that place of significance where, as a person who's just producing, you can work a system. Most people can learn laws and get skills and talent and have charisma and all that stuff to produce and have a good number of people that's following that same system. But somewhere in there, you're going to have headaches, you're going to have frustration, you're going to have a lot of backbiting. There's going to be like a cycle of things that you have to deal with, as opposed to a community that's able to breathe. Now, I'm not saying you won't have challenges and things you have to deal with, but the difference is the people who are oftentimes combative, challenging, or have those character flaws themselves, you'll notice that those are the ones that will dwindle away because they cannot, the environment, the growth and healthy environment, they just can't get with it. But on the flip side, if you have something that's productive and seemingly productive, the true leaders will begin to fizzle out, pull away, and go somewhere else. So that's why I wanted to touch on in terms of production and true leadership in terms of having good character.
Yeah, Natasha, I think it looked like you're still speaking on the screen, but you just muted your mic. So I think it's a little behind. So I'm going to assume that you had stopped talking. But that was really great, valuable insight. I loved it. Thank you so much for diving in like that. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. So on page 48, I'm sorry. Let me read the comment. Chanela Crystal says, that statement is definitely a fact. Yes, integrity is hard to earn and easy to lose. Ms. Crystal also says, a title is only a noun, but your action speaks for who you are. And I certainly agree. Page 48, what is the leader's level of influence? Okay. Who influences the leader? Talked about that. Whom does he influence? All right. And talked about discipleship for ordinary people. Another story, of course, that's on page 49. Let's go down to the end where it talks about positive attitude. A positive attitude is one of the most valuable assets a person can have in life. Having a positive attitude can actually save your life. I know I've heard several stories of people who've gotten sick and gotten ill, but because they maintained a positive attitude, they were able to do something to the cells in their body, and them cells to start reproducing because they got happy. And they started taking out that cancer or whatever problems they had because of the mindset and the attitude of that individual. And I know the Kings say it all the time, attitude of gratitude. They like the gratitude royalties. They have a journal called, is the Attitude of Gratitude? Is that the journal? Is that the title? The Gratitude Journal, something like that. I think because you're just now speaking when I asked you that question a few seconds ago on my end. But yeah, it's just a little off. But it's okay. I'll work with it. The winning attitude, your key to personal success. John Maxwell always dropped them nuggets. Like in his book, he'll be like, I wrote this book on this. And this is a point right here. So just know, if you want to know more about having a winning attitude, just know you can win the winning attitude. Your Key to Personal Success by John Maxwell, okay? Their problem is the attitude which causes them to handle life's obstacles poorly. We do not want to handle life's obstacles poorly. I saw something the other day where it said something about your greatest test will be how you treat people who misuse you. That's your greatest test. And it's not necessarily saying that you just got to lay out in a floor and be a man and just let people walk all over you. Because, no, that's not what it's saying. But do not get out of character. Do not become unglued. Handle it with poise and elegance and with a pure heart. You don't have to be revengeful. It's okay to walk away sometimes, but just be mindful of how you do anything. It's how you do everything. And having an attitude of gratitude and a positive attitude is going to get you longer. And you might even wind up teaching that person a lesson in the long run. They might have to turn around and thank you because you could have reacted a certain way, but because you didn't and went on with your life. Don't sit there now in no garbage. That's not what I'm saying, because no, I separate quick. But just be mindful of the attitude that you have when dealing with people, especially when obstacles arise, especially in adversities. Page 50. Let's talk about, I have underlined here, I said this. So let me read something. Hold on. In other words, the person doesn't accept the normal limitations of life as most people do. He or she is determined to walk to the very edge of his potential or his product's potential before he accepts defeat. That's a good one. Walk to the very edge of potential. That's like, in my words, that's like do it scared. You have this desire. This is what you want to do. Go for it. Pierce through. Paul Frank says when people come out of character, they really show their true self, removing the mask, revealing an opportunity to grow. Opportunity to grow. I like the way he ended that. Not a failing opportunity. You might have messed up, but now grow from that. Grow from that. Cool. Once again, jump in there, leaders on the call, out on the Zoom. If you got anything, just jump right in. Stop me and I'll make a pause for you to keep going. We have about
Yeah,
yes.
go ahead. The potential, I mean, it's like everybody has potential, but go back to the beginning is, can we see the potential? And it's like, if you have an elastic band on your wrist and it has potential, it only has potential till it's stretched, tie your hair, whatever it is. And as a human, we all have potential, Carlotta. So, and it's finding our potential. So I'm part of a group out west. It's a men's group, and basically, and so what they do is it's all about mindset. Is most people underestimate what they can do in a year, and they always overestimate what they can do in a month. So I'm going to do this, I'm going to do X, Y, Z, and it doesn't work out. We get sick, whatever, something happens. But over a year, and so my philosophy, this is just Michael's, is am I improving in 4 areas of my life? One is, my business, obviously. Is it growing? The other one is my balance. That's with my family and my wife. The other one is being, spirituality. And the other one is basically my body. So am I pushing myself in all those areas? And sometimes, if my bank account sucks, I better be putting a lot of work into making money. If my marriage sucks, I got to be putting more time into me and Jessica. Makes sense? So I think it's just, everyone's, and I don't know if, a lot of people try to be very balanced and everything's just got, that's not true. So just that word potential struck me, is we got to work on us, but we got to be striving. I'm not the 220-pound person anymore. I'm 190 something. You know what I'm saying? But why? Because I push myself on stuff I don't like. My bank account looks better. Why? Because I save. My marriage looks better because I go on date nights. My being looks better because I do daily devotions. Not every day, but days But that's what it is. Yeah, we all have great potential if we are willing to be coached and ask for help. Yeah.
Yes. Natasha, did you have anything? Okay. All right. So I'm gonna go through and just really kind of shoot through some points real quick. So I ain't never lived this day before. Oh, this is good. Oh, this is good. I gotta read this real quick. This no limit mindset allows a person to start each day with a positive disposition. As did an elevator operator I once read about. This is John Maxwell speaking, talking about something he read about. On Monday, we're on page 50. One Monday morning, in a full elevator, the man began humming a tune. One passenger, irritated by the man's mood, snapped. What are you so happy about? Well, sir, replied the operator, happily. I ain't never lived this day before. Not only does the future look bright when the attitude is right, but the present is much more enjoyable too. And that literally, I don't know, I was having a sensitive moment early last night. That made me like really cry a little bit because I was just like, wow. That's gratitude at its best right there. That's just like, that's a new perspective that you can actually take away and pocket that. I ain't never lived this day before. So what does it have to bring? Don't live every single day like it's the same day, like you're on rerun, like you're on replay. Because if you're thinking that way, then you actually are. You're stuck in time. So does time freeze? Yes, it does in your mind. If you tell yourself, oh, this is another day and I'm just here, then guess what? You are stuck in time. But if you have this type of approach, I have never lived this day before. Now you're allowing God to just really show up in your life to just, and the connections you're going to make with people, and you see people better. You don't judge people based off of yesterday and what they did when they was in 5th grade. This is a new day. I like that. That gave me some feels right there. It is never content until it is expressed. Express is an action word. We got to make sure we express the attitude that we want to express. Man, so much good stuff. Evident gifts. Never be. There's a never be. There's a could be. There's a should be and a must be. I got to take away real quick with the must be. The only things a must be lacks is opportunity. So the right leader that has a must be on this team, like you must be in leadership position. Like I got to talk about the Kings real quick. I had a situation where it could have been anybody that could have been a runner with me, but because of their leadership skills, because of the way they operated with their team and over time, and it just showed over and over, I was like, it must be them. And so when I went to bat, that person who said, okay, I'm going to take your word for it, they did it because they said, Carlotta said it must be you, so it must be you, and bam. You got to know. You got to know when it must be. But don't be that type of leader that try to block people from getting their next level because you don't want them to be caught up with you or pass you. Who cares about that? If you're adding value, that energy is going to come back to you anyway. It might not come back to you in this way. It might come back to you in another blessing down the line you didn't even see coming. So real quick, effective leaders recognize that their emotional reactions are their own responsibility. So having that confidence in yourself to make sure that you are emotionally intact is very, very key. The greatest achievers and leaders remain confident regarding the circumstances, regardless of what's happening around you. On page 56, I have found 3 things that characterize disciplined leaders. You can go back and read those on your own. A genuine concern for the person he's talking to. We want to have genuine concern for people, no matter who you're talking to, no matter what level they are. Everybody matters. And, we hear it often. You cannot be a good leader in life if you're not a good leader with your friends, with your family, with your children, all of that. You have to be that same leader, right? Everywhere you are. Communication is positive interaction. I've learned, do not text anything. Like if I find myself having to text somebody trying to explain something away and it's not necessarily information like here's the link, here's this or here's that. Unless it's just highly positive, if it's got to take a little twist, it's time to pick up the phone or FaceTime. And if it's something real serious, it's going to be either meet in person or FaceTime. It's not even going to be a telephone call. Pick that up real quick as a leader. You never want to get into those spats and texting because texting can be read wrong and taken wrong. All right. Personal integrity and conviction make communication credible. That's page 58. At the bottom, a person who refuses to risk change fails to grow. We must be willing to change. Page 59. When seeking potential leaders, seek people who seek solutions. Good leaders deliberately seek out and find potential leaders. Here's the thing. I know you may have heard the term when you pose a question, like you want to say, this is a problem. Never present a problem without what? Presenting a solution. So if I have something that I want to say, you know what, this is not working right. You don't leave it there. As a leader, you don't do that. As a leader, you say, hey, this is a little problem area here. How about we try to do and incorporate this? Or these are some other options, right? You want to add, always come with a solution or come with an idea that somebody can take your idea and maybe say, well, that it might help point them in the right direction, even if your idea is off. At least you added value to the content instead of just bringing and just talking about whatever is wrong. Bring what can be right to counteract whatever's not going right. Good leaders. Oh yeah, we already talked about that real quick. Okay, great. Push through. Seek people who seek solutions. So next week in chapter 4, we're going to go into the leader's crucial task, nurturing potential leaders. This is going to be good because I'm a nurturer with energy, emotion, and speech, but not the soft little baby, like that. And I definitely don't do plants, but I want to get into that because I'm getting tired of killing plants. Like if I bring a plant home, it's gonna be dead. I don't care. I can give it sunlight. Maybe I'm not doing something right or whatever. But I'm looking forward to growing in chapter 4, nurturing. Oh my gosh, yes. I want to challenge you too. Sometimes you can read early and then read again. I say almost every time we read, but the greatest influencers in the world don't just read a book one time. They'll take this one book and read it over and over and over and over and over. A good book that they really like for the entire year. So we go through books kind of quick. We go through a chapter a week, but listen, sometimes you might have to, read it over a few times, whatever you want to do. But man, I want to open the floor right now for any closing remarks from Natasha or Michael Humphreys.
Ladies can go.
Okay. I always like to go to the beginning of the chapter, and I can't get there. I can't get there yet. Let's see. But here we are. It says, the title always captivates me, or the subtitle, whatever you want to call it. It says the leader's primary responsibility. And a responsibility to me is something that you carry. It's like a mantle, right? It's a weight. Almost like people who do powerlifting. Well, not powerlifting. You don't have to do that much, but squats. But this responsibility that you carry, you have to be willing to really condition yourself with this weight. And if it said it's the primary thing, as a principal thing, then that just kind of alludes to what leadership is anyway. If you're the person who thinks that leadership is all about you have this title, the position of spotlight, then you've missed the mark. Your responsibility, your conditioning, you doing the strength training is all about developing somebody to take your place. And that's what I got from chapter 3. Being able to look for other people that you want to shine, that you're committed to. And I think that's what's going into chapter 4. You are committing to helping someone develop so that they can take your place. And that's kind of what I'm getting from chapter 3. And that's it.
Thank you so much for that. That was very valuable. Thank you.
Yeah, primary, to me, primary is the first. So what that is saying, it has to be your first. To be a leader, you have to first tag on to Natasha's responsibility to do that. Absolutely. So, and then it goes from there. But, getting that leader is so important, and then seeing everybody where they are, and then obviously seeking out to want to pour into somebody. So, I'm hearing the last few sub chapters, character, integrity and all that as it finished up, being better yourself, assessing yourself, stuff like that. So you got to reflect and then be willing to humble yourself to seek the best. Who would not want the best? We say that, but that's a hard one when you got a little bit of pride. So anyway, awesome job. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, absolutely. I just want to say thank you. Newbie coming right in the group, read and giving feedback. And I got to say thank you to Natasha King for helping me moderate this group and helping me with the post. You do an amazing job. I love the value that you're adding to the Mastermind group. So I got to shout you out every time and helping me grow the group as well. So thank you. I don't take it for granted that you're always here. I do not. So thank you again. And everybody, for those of you who did not catch the real play, catch the replay. Make sure you read and be ready for chapter 4 next Thursday at noon. We're going to be reading on page 61, The Leader's Crucial Task, Nurturing Potential Leaders. Have a great day, you all. And now let me end it and not remove myself like I did last time. Have a great day. Bye-bye, y'all.